The question is, discuss the concept and types of flood in India with examples. How different methods can control the floods in India. Well, the context of this question is in winters, in summers, in spring, in autumn, at every point of a time, flooding can take place. The concept of flood is not understood by the people in the country because floods are not only caused by heavy rain and not only by rivers. So that's one part. That's why the topic is always going to be in the news. Maybe when even in December, certain cyclonic activity takes place in the southern part of the country and affects the southern coast of India, floods are a natural phenomena in this place. And then, of course, how different methods can be used to control it is a secondary part associated with it. To begin with first, that's the context of the question. The second part is what examiner means is how is it that you can go to classify this topic. How exactly this topic is classified in the sense that is whether you are able to understand the concept of flood, the use of the language in this case is very significant, and whether you are able to classify it and put it in the form of point-wise, how is it that the control of flood can take place. So first thing first, that is it is going to be first going to talk about the concept of flood. Now this concept is significant, that's important. It's not because of anything. Flood is defined as a state of water, as the height of water above a given point for any water body, that is a river, that is a lake, and even oceans as well, which moves above a certain level to inundate those areas that are not normally inundated. Now imagine it's a state of a high water above a given point of time of a river, of a canal, of a lake, of the sea water or any water body to such an extent that it is able to inundate those areas that are not normally inundated. So some areas that are always inundated and they're going to get inundated again, that's not a flood. Consequently, flood is not always natural. Flood is a phenomena that can be created, and people can go to make it for themselves as well. It becomes a hazard when it is not seen as being adaptable. It becomes a blessing when it is seen as a natural phenomenon. So there are two parts associated with it. It's a hazard and it's a phenomena. When it's a phenomena, it's natural. And when you go to conceive it and perceive it as a hazard, it's only because you go on to get some losses because of it. Also, you can go to understand and think that it's a phenomena because whenever flood takes place, it has a lot of good properties associated with it. That means it cleans the river, it cleans the channel, it cleans the water body, it brings a new type of a life as well in that place. It is always responsible for depositing some amount of an alluvium and so on. Floods are of different types. One of them is what we're going to be calling it as riverine flood. The second is going to be associated with the types. So one is a riverine. A riverine flood is associated with two kinds. First is a flash flood. Second is slow rising. The slow rising kind results from rainfall or snow melt and that takes place gradually. That means the water level rises gradually. Second is a flash flood takes place by intense thunderstorm which can go on to inundate the areas. It can go on to wash any region within a matter of hours. The floods that don't take place in the Ganges, North Bihar plains, are the slow rising type. And the fast rising type are the one which happen in the wake of the torrential rainfalls that take place sometimes in Rajasthan. The one that is going to be associated with the Uttarakhand, Uttarkashi and the Kedarnath region, that was a flash flood, something that takes place in Himachal Pradesh. So this type of flood takes place when the river rises up to a level which is called as a bankful condition. That is, it goes on to reach its banks. In Hindi, it is going to be called as lava, if you can understand that. So it reaches a bankful condition, then it spills towards different regions. That's one condition. Second is a lacustrine floods. As the name suggests, it is associated with a lake. Lacustrine floods are the one that can take place with the rising of the lake water. And sometimes it can be associated with Srinagar, sometimes with Hyderabad, and it is overflowing of the flood water and inundates those areas that are not normally inundated. The third is going to be estuarine floods. That is at the mouth of the river where it meets the sea. That is an estuary. So estuarine floods usually result from a combination of tidal surge at sea, that means when the tides are very high, caused by or a storm surge as well, and river flooding and rainstorms inland. All four conditions. That means when the sea level is high, when the rivers are in flood, and also when there is a rainstorm inland. That means it keeps on raining and raining. For example, some time back it took place associated with Mumbai in India. That was in 2005 and subsequently in 2006 as well. It took place and even in 2017 and 20 as well. The mouths of many rivers, for example, Mandavi, Juari, in Goa, Narmada in Tapti, Periyar, Vembanad in Kerala, Kali in Karnataka are part of such type of flood, estuarine floods. Third is going to be called by, fourth is going to be called as coastal floods. Coastal floods can be caused by certain things like tropical cyclones, which can be hurricanes, it can be tropical cyclone, or severe sea storm, or most importantly by tsunami. That is, when the tsunami causes the sea level to rise, and it is an entire body of water that moves forward. That is how these type of floods can go to take place. That means the floods that took place associated with 2005 have been 2004 Boxing Day and so on, or 2005. That is 26th of December. That was one such type of a flood. The coastal regions of India associated with all of it. For example, the Marina Beach got itself flooded, and the whole of Vembanad region got itself flooded. So flooding took place in a variety of places in that way. The sixth is, that is the fifth in this case, is going to be urban floods. Urban floods are associated with flooding of the urban areas. That means it can be a small segment of Delhi that can go to get flooded. It can go on to be a small segment of Jaipur that can go to get flooded, which got it flooded in 2020 as well, when there were intense rainfall. Hyderabad as well, that got itself flooded. Mumbai as well, that can go on to get itself flooded. That is urban floods. And urban floods are a recurring phenomena right now because in trying to construct a city, not too much amount of attention has been paid to the natural drainage conditions of the city. So Chandigarh is one region that is not likely to be, Noida is going to be better. Greater Noida is going to be still better because these are planned cities taken in such and made in such a manner that they are actually very, very well planned with storm drains finally in its place. Then the last of them is going to be catastrophic flood. That is the sixth one. Floods as a catastrophic event. It's a catastrophic flood. So catastrophic floods can be identified by such as something like dam burst or the effect of earthquake or volcanic eruption. That is, it can take place all of a sudden and because of a catastrophe of sorts. For example, in the wake of a volcanic eruption, the first thing and the most important thing that goes on to get emanated is steam. This leads to so much amount of a rainfall that you can't imagine. An earthquake can be responsible for blocking the flow of the river, and needless to say, if dam burst goes on to take place, then what not can happen, and within seconds a lot of complexion can go on to change. However, the river floods resulting from heavy rainfall or intense snowmelt are the most common of this phenomena in this case. So, having talked about the type of floods, the third part is associated with the control of the flood. Now, control of the flood is going to be associated with a minimization of the flood damage, or it can go to be flood protection, or it can be prevention of the flood. Now, there are going to be many of them. For example, flood protective works. We are going to be talking about flood protection. Flood protection, flood forecasting, flood control. Now, all three are different. Flood control, that means you do not allow the flood to take place. And it can be because of various means and methods as well. You do not allow the people to settle in those regions also, which are going to be essentially flood prone or inundation prone. Forecasting is that is you forecast the flood, that these are areas which are going to be associated with flood, and consequently will be able to minimize the damage. And all those places that are going to be affected by floods, you try to protect it in a variety of ways. So, talking about flood protection in this case. Flood protection goes on to include, one of them is a protection against inundation. That is, one of the works is associated with a protection against inundation. That is going to be one, and that will go on to include a construction of embankments. That's going to be one. Embankments, flood walls and river bunds in this case. These are three methods, and embankments have been in use because such embankments have been in existence for centuries in India on many rivers in India. For example, the Gandak, Damodar, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri, Kosi, also in Brahmaputra and Ganges as well. For example, Guwahati is protected with the help of these embankments, and not only Guwahati, that is, Patna is also protected with these type of embankments. Bihar, there is a series of embankments in this region, and the basic point in Bihar is that is, or in Assam is, embankments are used as a method to allow the river to get flooded, so that some people, of course you know them, bureaucrats and the politicians, they can go to earn a lot of money in this manner, essentially by causing inundation and then taking grants and then making a mockery of it. Oh, no one knows it better than the general public in this case. So that's going to be one of them. Second is works aimed at reducing flood peak. That's one. And when we are going to be talking about works aimed at reducing flood peak, such as a flood control reservoirs, which hold temporary or a part of a flood within a storage space, basically by building a reservoir, so that the rate of flow below the reservoir is kept within safe limits. After the flood subsides, the water gradually releases downstream. That means you don't allow all the water to be released at one point of a time. Thus, peak flows in the river channel downstream of the reservoir are reduced. So, dams are essentially a means which has been constructed for the purpose of flood control in such a manner. Third is works for reduction of flood levels. That is, third is flood levels. That is reduction of the flood level. And how is it that the level of the water can be brought down? That is by channel improvement. That means you deepen the channel. Then you're going to straighten the channel. You're going to make some detention basins in this case. For example, if this is a river that is going to be getting itself flooded and the level is high, Then you can go to make a detention basin here. That means some amount of water will go on to find itself here. Some amount of water will go to find itself here as well, in this place as well. This is also one of the places where some amount of water can go to find its place. That goes on to become detention basin in this case. And channel improvement, that means you can go to dredge the channel as well in this case. That is a reduction in the level of the flood, and marked reduction in flood levels along the reach can be achieved by improving the capacity of the river channel. You can straighten the channel as well, deepening of the river, removal of obstructions, straightening of it as well. And detention basins, the flood flows are diverted into west depression, serving as a detention basin. There used to be a good number of detention basins that way, and these detention basins used to be working in unison with a lot of things. When we are going to be talking about working in unison with a lot of things, basically it means that is naturally some of these things like the water bodies, some of these things like wetlands used to be working as a detention basin. But now, since good number of wetlands have been acquired, they have been dilapidated, they have been destroyed, they have been destructed, this is what exactly has happened. So after the flood goes down into the main river, the water stored in the depression is permitted to flow back into the river when the level of the flood goes on to subside. Then this water goes on to flow back. Then works for arresting bank erosion, namely river training such as bank erosion, that is going to be the fourth part associated with it. Bank erosion will go to mean that is why exactly this is significant, because banks shouldn't go on to get broken, and they must be stabilized so that the river shouldn't go on to breach its bank, and after having breached its banks, it can go on to find its way in different directions. So that will go on to include repairs works like spurs, grinds, revetments, scientific methods of stabilization of any portion, and so on and so forth. The sixth is, that is, the next is, the fifth is going to be works for reduction of the rate. That is reduction of the rate of runoff. Rate of runoff, you can understand that one much better. That is, whether the river goes on to flow fast or not. If the river, the water is going to be flowing faster, then it is likely to cause, it will likely to bring a lot of water, which a basin, which a lake, which a river, which a channel is not able to cope up with. Consequently, we are talking about the works for the reduction of the rate of runoff, namely watershed management. That is comprising flood zoning, raising the level of habitation above the flood level, highest flood level, advanced flood warning system, and emergency evacuation, and so on, so forth. All of these are going to be different components associated with it in this case. This is how exactly flood can be controlled, and this is how it can be managed as well.
To have more such discussions and analysis, subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon for notifications on our upcoming videos.